right, good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to our Wednesday night Bible study. And I'm just wrapping up a long, hard day at work. But no, I'm just getting ready for everything and just want to welcome you for, again, what we're going to be looking at this evening. But first of all, we just want to get it out there right away that if you guys have prayer requests, if you have praises to share with us, we want to go ahead and get those, start posting those in the comments. We also have a, what do they call it, a group, a church group on Facebook, if you want to go ahead and post in there so that we can stay up to date on all those requests. It would be really, really appreciated. So go ahead and get those put in there, and we'll go ahead and pray for those at the end of our service. And that's how we stay engaged. I have the chat pulled up right here, so I mean, as soon as any of that comes up, we'll be able to go ahead and talk about that. And we just want to first of all, just be mindful, be ever present about what's going on with our communities, with our school systems, with our activities, with our church services. COVID is spiking, I guess you could call it. It's increasing, and so we just wanted to take the precaution to move to virtual services for the next couple weeks, and so that's why we're here this evening. So that will be for next Sunday and then the Sunday after that. And then we're going to reassess, how the things are going and everything to be able to come back and meet in person. So just stay tuned on all the social media, all that type of stuff. And for our kids that are affected, and I know this is hitting home for a lot of our community members, because they want to be able to attend the activities that our kids are participating in and be able to see them grow, be able to see them mature in the, not only in the sports and the different athletic activities, but also in the other stuff that's going on. I know that I run a little business, and so one of the things that we are in the middle of is basketball season, and I am enjoying seeing these kids develop, seeing the team develop, and being able to witness growth, right? Not just in the classroom, but also on the field, on the court, and all that type of stuff. And so it's entertaining in that respect. But because all this stuff is going on, they have decided to postpone some of those events. And I know that it affects the parents as well, because they were planning for some of these events. They were looking forward to these things to be able to celebrate. And that's not going to happen now because some of these events are postponed. And so not only does it directly affect the children, directly affect the staff and the administration, it also affects our families and our communities when they're trying to do these things. And so just keep them in your prayers, keep them top of mind as we're making our way through this next stage, right? And I always go back to last year. I keep on looking at the calendar, and the day will come, and it's affecting me a little bit, thinking about it, whatnot. Just right, it gets distracting. We're coming up on that anniversary of when my mother passed away from this same exact event that's going on. And it will seem unreal to me, because not only has a year passed, but also 2 years, we'll be going on 2 years going through this. And there was a little glimmer of hope. Some of the scientists out there was reading some different things as I was being at home with my sick child. He don't have COVID, but he's experiencing some other stuff or whatever. But we're just looking at the little glimmer that they were talking about, was that maybe this is what's needed. A fast spreading variant will actually speed up the process to be able to make it through these next couple stages, and to where they talk about that herd immunity, or that group protection that we are seeking, right? Through vaccination, through natural immunity, through all these different things, people just, getting it, and everybody's getting it so fast that it might be a good thing. That, it's just something that has to be done, because not giving any weight to the comments that I think we all are here from our leadership, in that everybody's going to get it, everybody's going to encounter it in some way or shape or form. But the scientists were saying it might be a good thing that we are progressing towards that, so that it's good for all, that we can maybe go through it, or get to a time where it's not a serious illness, where it's not affecting us as much, right? And there won't be as many deaths, there won't be as many hospitalizations, there won't be just as much sickness, because this is just the process of these illnesses. And they were saying that about Omicron, that if there's anything good about it, that it's spreading so fast that it might, hinder the other variants' ability to spread, but also that will develop a immunity quicker. And with the vaccinations, it'll be even quicker than that. So that's a good thing, right? But during this time, right, it's a little bit dark. It's a little bit ominous, right? In that we're still going through this 2 years later. We're still having to take this seriously, and for some of us it's taxing, and some of us it's COVID fatigue is a real thing, right? We just don't want to deal with it anymore. We don't want to even do any of that kind of stuff. But we still have to be, what they were telling us a while back was, vigilant. We have to stay strong in all the stuff that we've been taught, all the stuff that we've been doing, to be able to make it through this. And that's something I want to touch on a little bit. And I know that we have prayer requests, and thank you for those. If you have any, go ahead and send those. Prayers for the schools, the daycare, and the other facilities, and then prayers for some college tests. College tests, yes. And I was going over with my wife that Junior. Praises to him and glory to God for him being able to have his second master's degree. But I know that Robert, who's asking for prayers, was thinking about, and I think he did enter graduate school to go ahead and get his master's, and that's something that I wanted to do as well. And talking over with my wife, I want to go ahead and get that done and be able to do some of the things that I wanted to do. Again, through all this, I think that now might be the right time. And so college is a good thing, and I know that even colleges are being affected right now, so don't count them out as we either. Prayers for our little faith. Yes, again, we're dealing with illness. It's not COVID, but it's something else that's going around that affecting the kids. And so just keep our family in prayers, and keep the rest of our work that we're doing in your prayers. So let's move on to something that's just as exciting as COVID, just as tiring as some of this stuff that's going on, is taxes. Myself, I have I guess you would call it an okay relationship with taxes. I do a little bit of work with taxes. And just a shameless plug, I work for a company that does them, will provide a service to you guys and all that type of stuff. But I also will prepare your taxes as well if you reach out to me, and if I'm available, because again, this is a busy time of the year. But the IRS announced that they will be accepting and processing 2021, which is last year. Remember, our tax year is always, the current tax year is always the fiscal year, what they call it, calendar year, but prior to. So they will begin processing 2021 tax returns on January 24th. And I know that some of you guys want to go ahead and get your guys' taxes in early, but caveat. Most employers don't get your information to you. They're not required to get your information to you until later part of January. And so there's a number of ways that you can get that done, get that started. But start getting the documents around, start getting prepared, because this year, as we've seen, like last year, the reason they're putting this date out is because in prior years past, they've been able to have that date closer to the beginning of the year. It's been getting later because they're having to upgrade some of their stuff. They use old technology, really old technology, to be able to do some of the things that they do, but it's because there's so much information that they have to process in a pretty quick amount of time, that it's hard to upgrade. It's hard to update those things. But they're saying January 24th, you guys can start sending your returns, and that's e-filing, that's doing all that type of stuff. And so to get your refund, if you're due a refund, to get it back as soon as you can, you want to file as early as you can. You want to be efficient using all the electronic stuff that you can. Ben Franklin said, he's attributed a quote, and there might have been an earlier person who said kind of the same thing, but he's given probably the most notoriety about in this quote. And in the whole phrase that he says, our new constitution is now established and has an appearance that promises permanency. Now, the United States is a great nation. All that we do has been, progressive and forward-leaning, and doing everything that we can to be the freest country in the world with the most freedom. As you can see, we can debate about COVID and all that kind of stuff freely out in the open air, and we won't get, thrown in jail or, speaking about the way government leaders do or don't do their job. It's a great nation. And it appears that we could keep on going, even though there are people out there saying that we're in this stage where things are going to go wrong and all that type of stuff. We're a great nation, and there's no end in sight, right? He said, but in this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. And that's that taxes part that I want to talk about tonight. Us as Christians, we say a lot of different things, and we have a lot of things that maybe go for us a little bit. Speaking about the virus and everything that's out there, if you don't want to get your vaccine, if your employer is mandating that you get your vaccine and everything, there's an exemption. There's a little carve out for believers and those maybe that are on the other side that you want to use that exemption. They call it a religious exemption, right? Based on my faith, I don't have to listen to some of the rules. I don't have to be under some of the mandates that are out there. But is that true? And if we try to apply that to taxes, does that apply? Is that truer? Is that something that we as believers can use to be able to get out from underneath the law? Matthew in chapter 22, I am reading out of the English Standard Version this evening, because that's what I do my studying on right now. There was a question posed to Jesus by some people who probably we could maybe have some similarities with today. And that, we're staunch in our faith, and we want to be able to do the things that God has enabled us to do. Or maybe not. Maybe we're just looking for some guidance right now. Maybe you stumbled on this live stream to be able to say, hey, I want to learn a little bit more about taxes and how they apply to me. Matthew chapter 22 kind of speaks to not just taxes. The example that's used is taxes. But more broadly, whether or not us Christians should follow the law. And what is the law, right? what law are we talking about? Well, we're going to make that distinction here pretty quick. It says, then the Pharisees went and plotted how to entangle him in his words. That's 15:16. And they sent their disciples to him along with the Herodians, saying, Teacher, we know that you are true and teach the way of God truthfully, and you do not care about anyone's opinion, for you are not swayed by appearances. Think about that, the way that's phrased. You're not swayed by appearances. You're not moved by anything that's on the outside, right? What's on the inside? So they were asking for a truthful answer. They were asking for something that he is foundational. And again, going back to what we heard on Sunday, right? We have to build our faith on something that's permanent. What we just talked about, what Ben Franklin was talking about, the nation has this appearance that it could go on forever, but there are only two things that are certain: death, and we know death is certain, and taxes. Well, following the law, more or less. And you do not care about anyone's opinion, for you are not swayed by appearances. 17. Tell us then what you think. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? There's the question. Now, they probably had ulterior motives, because they even brought it up as you're not swayed by appearances, but we're trying to get to the bottom of this. They're saying that because they want to appear right, but they want to make sure that what he's about to say maybe applies to certain ones, and they can get him. Exactly what they were just talking about was they were plotting, and they were trying to get him to trip up in his words, in his teaching. Okay. So, but Jesus, aware of their malice, their ulterior motives, the way that they had went about this whole situation, said, "Why put me to the test, you hypocrites?" Whoa. Just called them out right there. We have to be able to have that same kind of approach. Not saying, anybody that questions you, why are you questioning me, hypocrite? I mean, it goes further than that. You need to be mindful of people's motives, of people's intentions when they pose a certain situation, okay? Be thoughtful about your responses. Be thoughtful about the way you react. I seen a quote that said something about life is 10% about what happens to you, but 90% about how you react. And we could probably say, yeah, it might be off, but there's a lot of situations in which it may come at you, and depending on how you react, it can go a lot of different ways, right? But what's not being said right here is, where are you putting your faith, and where are you getting your experience? Okay. You react because you have an experience, you have knowledge of the way things are going to go, or the way things have gone in the past, and you need to apply that experience to what's going on. So not only did Jesus know what was going on, he was told, right, how everything is going to go. He was told about the history. He was told about what these guys were going to try to do, right? He knew all because he was God. And because he knew all, he knew how to approach them, and he knew how to call them out. He knew how to first say, well, I mean, this situation that you guys are proposing really doesn't apply to what you're saying right now, but let's get to the bottom of it. Oh man, I was gonna have a coin. I don't even have a coin. I bombed this one. Hey. But Jesus, aware of their mouths, why do you put me to the test, you hypocrites? Show me the coin for the tax. And for all of you guys right now that probably has some change laying around, I just gathered a bunch of my change earlier, and I set it down, and I was going to go get a coin, and I don't have any coins. That bums me out. But he said, show me the coin for the tax. And if you are in the United States right now, you have U.S. currency. Hopefully, hopefully you're not using other currency, because exchanging it costs you even more money. But take a coin and look at it and see and ask the same question. Show me the coin for the tax, right? You pay your taxes with U.S. currency because it's the U.S. government. That's the only way they're going to do business. And they brought him a denarius. So they brought him some coins, and, supposedly we know all about Roman coinage and the way they mint their currency and everything like that. U.S. currency, it has what on it? It has United States government stuff. It says, I think it says different things on different coins, but it'll have a head or a figure on it, right? Something that we maybe pay homage to. But then on the reverse side, it has all the stuff that, we need to know about. It'll say $quarter, it'll say 1 cent, right? It'll say nickel, all that type of stuff. It'll say on there whose it belonged to. And Jesus said, whose likeness and inscription is this? So look at your coin and realize that it's United States government money. They said Caesar's. Then he said to them, therefore render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. When they heard it, they marveled, and they left him and went away. Now, last part, they marveled because he knew what was going on. He couldn't be corrupted. He couldn't be what they just said earlier. You're not swayed by appearances. So he cut right to it, like what we say the Bible is a sword that pierces even bone, right? Right to the point of the issue that was going on. But backing up a little bit, it says, they said Caesar's. They said to him, then he said to them, therefore render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God. And him right there just lays it completely plain, without question, what needs to happen. Yes, if you are a United States citizen, if you are a permanent resident, if you have anything to do with business in the United States as a nation, you are underneath the control of the United States government, and therefore you are underneath the control and authority and responsibility of its laws. And so you have to listen to those laws, and if the laws say pay tax, you have to pay tax. Now, again, what we're talking about, there's exemptions and there's carve-outs, and even in the tax code, there are some exemptions, some carve-outs, and we've seen some of that play out over the course of the pandemic. At first, because they didn't know how bad it was, they took away some restrictions to be able to get some of that money for retirement, and they lessened the burden on that. This upcoming year, if you took advantage of the child tax credits, you're going to be able to do some things with that and have some exemptions and whatnot. But again, the language, the phrasing of what Jesus told them is clear. You are underneath their rule, so you have to listen to their rules. And then he says, give God what is God's. And what is God's is your service, your life, your duty to be able to go out and spread the gospel, right? To be able to work and play and do all these other things takes money, and we know what we need to do there. And because we're provided money, we're provided a means, we have to pay taxes. And now, where some of our hang up is, as people, as even Christians, right? We want to give to charity, we want to do some of these things, and we might say that we know what's best for the use of our money. We know where our money needs to go more than the federal government and doing those things, right? But that's not so. In fact, here's a question that you can ask yourself: what are taxes used for? And if you take in, what is that called, history, political science, economics in school, you know that there are different tax systems for different things. But generally, broadly speaking, taxes are used for the betterment of our society in the way that it provides for some basic services. Property taxes, if you own land, right, they go to, is it the county or the city? The local taxes go there to provide for basic services such as firefighters, fire department, the law enforcement, the county sheriffs, and things like that. But other services as well. Some of the taxes that we pay to the state will go to fund education. In fact, that's where a majority of their taxes and their tax stuff will go and support, is the state education system. The local taxes are for the local services. The state is the one that provides for our schools. In fact, that's why teachers are state employees. Then nationally, right, we go and we pay some federal income tax to be able to provide for some other services that the states get grants and monies for, distributions and whatnot, for things like the healthcare system, for other things like DHS, for providing for foster care, and different things. Pay for the park rangers that guard the national parks, for a number of things, right? And we know that's how governments pay for their employees, for their representatives. That's how we pay for our representatives to be able to travel, do the things that they need to do and whatnot. And we get the sense that maybe we can do better with that. So, we don't have to pay that. We don't do that, any of that. Paul talks a little bit about it. He addresses the question very, very astutely, I guess you could call it. In Romans chapter 13, beginning of verse 1, it says, "Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God." And, a lot of preachers and pastors and ministers will point back to this to be able to say that there is no authority except by God, and so the authorities, quoting Paul here, have been instituted by him. But we know that there are some that maybe don't do godly things, that aren't righteous. In fact, during this time when Paul was living and the Romans had the rule, right, we see where Nero wasn't exactly a righteous ruler. In fact, he probably was the opposite. But that doesn't give us any more ground to be able to not listen to our authority figures, because what Paul's getting ready to address is that it's not for their benefit, it's for God's benefit. Therefore, whoever resists the authority resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval. For he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is a servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. Again, not listening to the laws, not listening to the authority that's been instituted by God, we can get in trouble. And this can be the whole spectrum of trouble, from a slap on the wrist, figuratively a slap on the wrist, all the way to death. Therefore, one must be in subjugation, not only to God's wrath, but also for the sake of conscience. Now, when we are listening to the authorities, not only do we benefit from just being a good citizen, being a rule follower, right? We also benefit from knowing that we're doing the right thing. Because of this, you also pay taxes, what we were just talking about earlier. But again, taking it further, not just addressing taxes, not addressing just following the law and what they were trying to trip Jesus up over earlier in Matthew. But for for other things, for the authorities are ministers of God, attending to this very thing. Pay to all what is owed to them. Taxes to whom taxes are owed, right? If we owe taxes, then we have to pay the government authorities. But he takes it further, and he broadly explains that the law applies in every situation, not just taxes, not just mask mandates, not just vaccines and all this other stuff. It says revenue to whom revenue is owed. Right? If we get into a business relationship, if we get into business partnerships and we make a contract, if we make an obligation to share, right? We don't have any authority to pull out of that unless we break that contract, unless we come to some mutual arrangement. But we've already promised them revenue. We've already promised them a share of goods. So this is what business is all about. Respect to whom respect is owed. You know, I was thinking about the way when we go and we do some things and we get out on our own. This what had me thinking about this was this picture of this I can't remember his name now. He's an actor, but it was an earlier movie where he was dressed up like a crazy guy, and then later on he was dressed a little bit more. Oh, what's that called? Formal. Had a little bit more formal attire on, and it said when Uncle was loco in the past, but now runs meetings, and that's a native thing. But we see that change sometime. Well, what got me thinking about it? Well, there had to have been somebody that had to change that individual, and we can chalk it up to God. We can say that Jesus played a role in their life. But here in the earthly realm, right, there had to have been a figure that they had to look up to. There had to have been a mentor. There had to have been somebody to show them the way, because a child will stay a child unless the parent or the adult takes charge and shows them what needs to be done, right? They'll just keep on playing because they don't know any better. And when they grow up, right, if they're not taught anything, they'll just keep on doing what they need to do. They won't see the good that they need to provide to the society. They won't see the need for godly and righteous things unless they're taught godly and righteous things. And so when I was thinking about this earlier, I was thinking, you know, how would they go about that? You know, if they had a changed life and the respect that they would pay. Well, I was thinking about it in my own way. How do we do that? How do we do that? Do we, you know, if we're put out there on our own, do we keep going back to the person who is teaching us and just keep asking questions? Or do we give them respect? And hey, this is what was taught to me. Hey, this is how things were done in the past. And us natives have a real strong way about that, right? We recognize the ones who paved the way, right? We give respect, and we give respect where it's due, because our elders did things for us, and we have done things for the ones it's passed on, right? And so that's what he's talking about there. Respect to whom respect is owed. If you owe respect, give it. And that way, you know, you're not, you know, it keeps you from being arrogant, right? It keeps you humble because there was somebody that taught you how to do that. And you're able to learn from them. And maybe one day, because you learn from them, you're able to pass on those teachings. And more of what we were just talking about, but also even further, honor to whom honor is owed, right? We see something that is a good thing, we should pay it forward. We should be able to say, hey, you know, this is a good thing, and that's what we should look like. That's what we should be striving for, right? Again, what we were talking about with Junior and his degrees and everything. And I know our church membership was being fun with some of those things, but it really is a good thing. It really is it's an awesome thing that we have a one of us that wants to take on those duties and be able to learn as much as they can and be able to share with us. And that's honorable. That's something that, you know, we should elevate, even though if you don't want it or anything like that, we should be able to look up to him and give him that honor where it's due. So Paul was reinforcing what Jesus was talking about when he was on the scene, right? Saying it's not that you can't follow laws just because you're Christian, you claim religious exemption and all that. No, even more so because you are underneath God's authority. He's instituted these authorities over you, and you still must follow the laws. Same way with us natives, even though we might want to get outside the boundaries a little bit. We know that our elders had rules. We might call them culture or whatever, but they're rules that we should still follow. And just because we believe a little bit different than them, that's our upbringing, and we should hold home to those teachings. We should hold them in high regard. And we can't just get out of paying taxes because we feel like it. We can't just get out of doing some of the things that we don't like to do just because we don't feel like it. If we're a Christian, we're a believer, we believe in these things that God has set up. We believe in the things that He has given us, right? We prayed for a way out of this, and He's given us a way out of it. So go get your vaccination, go get your booster shot, or do the things that are a public health measure. Wear your mask, stay away from people. He's given us the ability to sanitize ourselves, right? Wash our hands, wash our face, wash our, or what is it called? What's that? Disinfect the surfaces that we're always around and whatnot. Don't be doing some of the stuff that would put you at risk. Just listen, just follow what God has taught us, and we'll be all right. And so we have a couple of more prayer requests for sister there, and then their mom. So we want to make sure that those get on our prayer list as well. So go ahead and how far behind are we? A couple seconds? Yeah, we're behind like maybe 15 seconds or something like that. Any more? Go ahead and list those, but we're going to go ahead and close out with a word of prayer. Again, what Ben Franklin is quoted as saying, this is as the appearance of permanency, but nothing in this world is said to be certain except death and taxes. But Jesus gave us a way out. We don't have to experience death but once. We don't have to experience the eternal death. We can have eternal life if we believe in Him. And so let's go to Him in prayer and praise, thanking Him for that. We just thank you, dear Heavenly Father. Just thank you for everything that you provided, everything that's going on right now. We know that you have a will. We know that you have a purpose for everything. And we just thank you that you've been able to help us. But we look forward more to more understanding, to see what you have in store for us. And we just ask that we lift those names up that were voiced, that were typed, that were maybe still in our minds, maybe still in our hearts, that we want good things for. And we just ask prayers upon them, blessings upon them. We just ask that you continue to protect us and guide us. We ask that you be with our church as we continue throughout this time. And it's in Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. And so we will be back. If you guys want to catch us on the radio in the local area in Cushing, it's on 1600 AM KUSH. That will be at Saturday at 11 o'clock. Times are getting crazy. Saturday at 11 o'clock, you can tune in, or you can tune in on the app. They are on an app. TuneIn is the app. Download it on, Android, iPhone. You can even listen on your computer. If you're tuned in from far away, just tune in, TUNEIN, and search 1600 AM KUSH, and it'll pop up right there. We'll be back live here Sunday at 10 o'clock for Sunday school, and our main worship service will start at 11. And so thank you for joining us this evening, and God bless.